On this week's NFV SDN Reality Check, we speak with Accenture on a recent report showing how enterprises are moving full steam ahead towards network virtualization. All right, well, thanks for joining us on this week's NFV SDN Reality Check. I'm your host, Dan Meyer, Editor-in-Chief at RCR Wireless News. And this week, we are joined by Miguel Mier, who's the Managing Director for Accenture's North American Network Practice, to talk a bit about a new report coming out from Accenture looking at enterprise adoption of virtualized platforms. So Miguel, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Very good. Well, maybe start off, maybe a little overview of Accenture for the few people out there who might not know much about you guys, kind of, a big picture view, I guess, and how you guys interact with the telecom space.
For sure. So for those of you who don't know Accenture has about more than 380,000 employees globally. We're structured into 5 different businesses. Our communications, media, and technology business, that's one vertical. Mm-hmm. Another vertical is the product industry, all the retail companies and transportation industry, resources, financial services, and finally, the public sector and healthcare. So we're developing 5 different verticals. I'm in part of the communications, media, and technology vertical, where our telecom operators and the cable operators are the biggest part of that vertical for us.
Very good.
For that, I now lead our network practice in North America, where we focus on the sales and marketing space. We focus on HR and transformation. We also have a big practice focused on product development and the network or advanced technology at a cable company or telco, including the web scale companies as well. So what we do, we have a lot of executives and staff focused on that space with a lot of investments in that space. Focus on how do we help develop new products and how do we help our clients launch new capabilities into their clients, which are the small, medium-sized businesses, all the way to the global 2,000 companies they serve today. So we're helping them out today, both in North America and globally.
Very interesting. Yeah, great. So I know a big part of that, I know in the telecom space has been kind of this move towards virtualization. And I know a lot of operators are looking to deploy this as a way to become more agile in their service offerings. I know enterprises are as well. And I know you guys have a new report on this. And so maybe a little overview, if you can provide, I guess, on the report and kind of what came out, what are some of the highlights of this new report you guys did in talking to enterprises out there in terms of their virtualization plans?
Yes, so we're very excited to the report that's coming out. It's a report that we did is focused on all the enterprise companies around the world. So from about 360 companies from the US, Canada, Australia, and Western Europe, which we interviewed from CIOs to the business leads of these companies. 50% of the companies are $1 billion or more in revenue. Some of them are $10 billion or more in revenue that we dealt with. And even a lot of companies in the small business sector, from 10 employees all the way to 100 employees. So we broke it out by different, so 360 companies broken up on more than $1 billion and less than $1 billion. So we have an equal representation from across the spectrum. And it's and the type of companies, retail companies, banking was a big area, the insurance space, and manufacturing. So companies have a lot of locations. So some locations were maybe around 10 or 15 locations, all the way to more than 500 locations in a certain geography. So yes, they may have it in other geographies around the world as well, but it certainly requires a lot of network services. So companies that require that. So that was one of the things that we're looking to launch next week, and it has a lot of nuances behind it. We'd love to share that more with you as we talk through it.
Very good, very good. Well, I guess as you looked at the report, what, I guess, any sort of surprises that came out of it? Obviously, you guys talked to a lot of companies out there and pretty diverse companies as well. I guess as you try to compile all that information, has anything kind of jumped out at you in terms of, what came out of the findings?
Yeah, one thing is people, a lot of the clients are very well educated on network server virtualization. So 90% or more of the people we spoke to were very well educated on the benefits of network virtualization. So awareness behind it, and the type of vendors who are providing service in that space. So 90%. However, about only 20 to 30% are actually seeing product services for them to deploy. So for instance, so they're not only about 20 or 30% are actually deploying services, and so there's a gap of 90% are aware of it and are really interested in it, and about 20 or 30% are the ones who are actually starting to do some pilots or deploying some capabilities. So that gap was 60% gap there.
Wow.
It's huge. So there's an opportunity for the industry to tackle that and get more revenue, frankly, because there is a huge need and a pent-up demand actually around network virtualizations, and that's very clear in our survey.
Interesting. I guess, I mean, was there any sort of, reasoning for that gap? I mean, is it, because again, we're in kind of the hype cycle of it, so people are aware of what this is. I mean, obviously, it seems like you can't look at any sort of telecom information and not see NFV or SDN or something like that as part of it. But is it just a matter of, again, the hype cycle as opposed to actual, the reality of what we can get out of this technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the hype cycle, frankly, it's the level of awareness. Some interviews, we listened to some of the transcripts, and some of them were there myself. It was very clear that they'd done some research. What is not clear is how to procure the services very well and how to migrate to those services. But I think the biggest thing is they're looking for one provider. 80% of the companies we interviewed looking for one provider of services. They're not looking to do systems integration for themselves. They're not looking to say, let me talk to 20 people and see how do I piecemeal a solution. And some of them are already doing it themselves, but they don't see one person, one company providing a solution for them yet. And so that's the gap right now. It's the solutions from the telcos are maturing. They need to mature faster. The cable companies looking to do the same thing, probably more in a small and medium sector. It's how do you do that? How do you provide a one-stop shop from that capability? And then that really requires not just a technology vendor, because there are lots of technology vendors. You interviewed a lot of them yourself. Yeah. They provide point solutions, but they're not looking just a point solution. They're actually looking for who's going to operate this for me? Who is going to provide the sales and marketing expertise to help with my businesses? So the telcos, their focus needs to be more holistic in nature, and they're starting to do that quickly. You see some announcements from the U.S. carriers and also in Europe around how to start deploying it, and because that pent-up demand is there, it's certainly there, and we're excited to be part of it. We at Accenture have actually invested a lot to provide that white label service for the telcos and the cable operators. So we actually created an operational arm to provide SD-WAN services. Mm-hmm. There are at least about 15 SD-WAN, SD controller companies out there. But in the companies who are going to win the market, to be determined. However, we provide our orchestration layer. So we provide a technology piece of it that helps orchestrate the different SDN controllers, provide an operations perspective. We also help with sales and marketing for the telcos and cable companies who will like that service. So provide a white label service so the telcos can go to market faster. Instead of waiting to find out which company will win the game, let's just pick one, and in a year will be probably somebody else.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, definitely in terms of this move towards virtualization, because you're right, the operators do seem like they're in a great position to be that I don't know, system integrator or whatever it's going to be, but the person at one point of contact for enterprises. But I know operators talking to them, like you said, they've got all these various vendors coming to them with those different solutions, and a lot of operators are kind of encouraging that sort of diversity out there because they do want to have new players as part of this. But you're right, it does seem like it is kind of a funneling aspect, I think, of getting everybody into one spot and then being able to go to an enterprise and say, hey, here's a great solution for you. It's got everything you need. And again, enterprises are looking for that because they don't have to deal with all this stuff. They got their own businesses to run. They don't want to have to headline their own technology transformation as well.
No, one point you mentioned there is how do you deploy these solutions without waiting for the perfect solution? Yeah. You can still, as long as you have the operations, as long as you pick one of the vendors, there will be new features and functionalities, but not getting caught up with that as they pick the solution and then start deploying that and start getting the sales. The part of the engine that sometimes the telcos is where do you sell it first? Who's the first person who will buy it? Who's the third or fourth person? Because then you get lessons learned around what works and what doesn't work. But that white label service we're providing for, that managed service we're providing for the telcos today, and is getting traction, is hopefully starting. Let's start getting to market and start selling it. This service.
Makes sense. Well, I guess now in talking to these enterprises and getting kind of the feedback from them, what are they trying to gain? I guess, what's their main objective in this move towards virtualization? Are they trying to, obviously, I know you mentioned agility at one point. I mean, what are you seeing as kind of the main benefit for these enterprises?
Yeah, in the survey provides a clarity on that rundown. One is the cost reduction. How did they reduce their operational cost? That's one. The second one is actually very important, it's flexibility and agility. So they add 2 more or 3 more retail locations, for instance. Let's say I'm a Papa John's restaurant and I have 3 more locations I want to add in a certain region. How do I turn up the service without waiting too long to do that? Yeah. And how do I change the demand for bandwidth for that location quickly, on demand, without having to go through a process of making the call and its operational element in the carrier space? How do you do that? Agility is a key, and the reduction in cost. So those are the 2 main areas of why these enterprises want to go into it. And that flexibility, because today people are very aware of how do you order from any type of service on a mobile phone. So how do you do the same thing now for telco services? And that's the paradigm. That's the agility. Just get it there, and then you iterate from there. That's really important. Frankly, they're especially the companies that are less than $1 billion in revenue are clamoring at us. Just give me a solution. I'll work with you as things may be modified. So.
Interesting. It does seem like the app economy has definitely transformed how everybody does everything, because now everybody expects if they want something, you push a button, you wait 20 seconds, and it's there.
That's exactly right, and so that's why the service, this curated service, having the mobile website ready to go, the application ready to go. You need to change what SDN controller you're pointing towards. So that's why it's really important to get it out there quickly. Because other companies may be able to provide it without working with the telcos, which is we don't want.
Yeah. Exactly. And I guess from the telco space, are you seeing pretty good advances in terms of their own deployments and having the processes in place to support what enterprises want? Because it does seem like some operators are a little more advanced than others. But I guess in general, are you seeing enough work from operators in this movement?
Yeah. So the way we look at network virtualization as a whole, if I step back for a second, is a multi-speed journey. So it's if you look at virtualization from a packet core, the speed in which the translations to a virtualization there will take their own time. And there are different business issues, different people skill sets you require for that, and technology or operations. If you look at virtualizations from my customer premise equipment, so the DSL modems or the cable modems you have in your house, the set-top box you have in a house, the virtualization of the code base inside those boxes is happening already. Mm-hmm. And one example you started seeing already in the cable industry is the RDK management stack. So it's removing completely the code base inside those cable modems, and owned now, instead of being owned by a vendor, outside vendor, is now owned by the cable company. And they need different set of engineers. They need DevOps, they need Agile, they need embedded software engineers. So they create their own roadmap of services. So that virtualization and the set-top box or inside the home is happening right now. And then the third kind of multi-speed is the enterprise need for virtualization. So that's what we're talking mostly about today. But that one has, again, that requires speed at the moment, and that's going much faster than what's happening inside the packet core of a core network. So if you look at it as 3 different dimensions of multi-speed, each one has a different type of skill sets required, people requirements, operational requirements, and focus. And so that's we've seen the second 2 moving really quickly. The first one, it's moving much more lower, as it should be. If you're looking to virtualize your core network of your major revenue generator, you're not gonna do. You take more of your time, and you should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I know. Talking to operators, I mean, they're pretty conservative in terms of getting too deep, because you're right, that is the revenue generator. Those networks are still working pretty well today for the most part. Obviously, they can be more efficient down the road, but again, you don't want to mess that up, because if you start messing up service level qualities and things like that, that's not the road you want to go down. So that's obviously a big challenge for them. But again, it's a big change for everybody involved with all this as well. So it's a lot happening there. And like you said, the skill set requirement alone, I'm guessing you guys are getting a lot of questions from operators and even enterprises about, how do I retrain my employees, because it is a whole different mindset now.
No, frankly, it is. So if you look at those 3 multi-speed dimensions, for instance, the second one around the set-top box, the cable modems, the DSL modems, we're actually investing quite a bit in retraining our existing workforce and hiring a lot of people focused on embedded software development. So we bought some companies 8 or 10 years ago to help how do we and own that software stack. So the software stack is owned by the telcos or the cable operators. We're the engineers behind it, rewriting that code base and changing the customer experience. So an interesting point of view is how do you change a customer experience? Requires a different set level of thinking, a different set of people, but also requires a people issue around organizational behavior, operational processes. Who do you call when you have an issue? And who actually creates the experience? Is that a technology solution for a technology solution? So there's some nuances there, and we're investing in each one, but it requires different investments. From the SD-WAN perspective, for instance, one service on the network virtualization and the enterprise space, it requires different sales skill sets. We have operational skill sets with some people skill sets, but the virtualization inside the home, that's very different as well, because you need people who know embedded software development and software architects to help recraft the experience, plus design thinking around how do you design the new experience inside the home, since now you are no longer relying on the Motorola's or some other company to provide the software and the experience. You're creating experience yourself. So the type of people, you get a lot more design agency people that we've been hiring and buying these over the last many years. So our network engineers that we have in our practice are working with design engineers, cognitive science experts, on how do you design the experience inside the home. But that's being completely virtualized, because all the code all the code base is in the cloud for the home space. And the packet core, that completely different experience, because it's less about customer experience there. It's more around, it is customer experience at the end of the day, but it's a little more hardcore that you need to deal with, hardcore issues you need to deal with. How do you orchestrate all the changes across all the different type of equipment and protocols you need to deal with there? And that's a longer journey. And while we're investing in that one, that will take a little longer to mature.
Yeah, it sounds just also easy. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, again, it's definitely a long journey as part of the process. But again, it sounds like the orchestration part, which you guys seem to be focused on quite a bit, that's a big part of this, because that's going to be key to kind of not just kind of funnel everything through, but also being able to handle legacy systems and new systems, and just everything interacting together. That orchestration part of it, it can't be. I mean, I don't want to say it's the key linchpin, but that's an important part of all of this as well.
No, it is. And the orchestration, for instance, we mentioned about all these different vendors that provide point solutions on the SD-WAN controller, for instance. The SD-WAN controller, how do you orchestrate if you have 5 vendors? So you leverage each vendor's orchestration engine, or do you have one orchestration engine that cuts across all of them and then talks to the back-end IT systems from the carrier? So that's so the orchestration engine is important. We invested quite a bit of money in that space, and also expertise in that space. And it's important for us to keep that knowledge base, because every carrier, every requirement is slightly different. But we're trying to white box that for our clients. So we have orchestration engine. You guys pick the SD-WAN controllers. We have some preferred vendors that we deal with. But if outside of preferred vendors, we're agnostic in a sense. And we also have the operational capability, both in the U.S. or outside of the United States. And of course, we have the marketing and sales expertise that we have from many years of doing that, working in that space, which is a peer group of mine. Yeah.
Very interesting. Again, a lot going on there, but maybe just getting back to the report for a final question. I guess as you're talking to these companies out there, what did you see as maybe being the 1 or 2 big challenges going forward that the enterprises are seeing in terms of this, of making the next step in terms of this move towards virtualized platforms for their own operations?
One of the pieces is how to sell the solution. So what we're talking to the product lead for one of the carriers in Canada. He says, how do we sell the solution so the clients can buy it and understand it? Because what they do, they agree with the premise of the business case. Mm-hmm. But also, how do you sell the solution? And the way to sell it is having the mobile app with you. It's like, hey, you can order your change bandwidth on demand. And let me show you that mobile app. So have it a curated capability. It's a different way of selling. It's no longer selling, well, let me give you a T1, this is your rate, this is, and give you 30 days later, you'll have something and capability turned up. But how do you show that day one? So it's a different way of selling the capability. So the selling part of it is actually one of the most innovative ways. So we talk to some of our clients, especially in the product space, how do you sell that capability, even though and how do you compare with your competitors? Because frankly, anyone can sell this capability. You don't. All the 3 major telcos in Canada, all of them can go after the same customers. Yeah. As in the U.S. With the SD-WAN virtualization, the same thing could happen. So how do you differentiate yourself? It's a customer experience, and how do you differentiate? Is a selling capability. So I'm a network engineer by trade. but you need to partner with people who are how do you sell a new concept to a set of people who are maybe not as technical as you are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually that is one answer to your question is around the selling capability and showing the product live in real time. And then the other one is frankly providing a one-stop shop solution. So that I keep going back to that because that came very, very clearly from the survey is they want one solution provider, 80% want it. They wanted the operation components taken care of. They want one price, and then they want to be able to flex. So it's if their business slows down or they stop some retail stores, how does my pricing move up as my business has changed? So it's the flexibility to that, and having the solution provider provide a one-stop shop is important, even though they're different vendors underneath that umbrella.
Yeah, very interesting. Again, it seems like there's still so much that needs to be done. I mean, obviously, a lot of work has happened already in the past, but there's still so much happening in this space, and it seems like every day, every week, there's some new advances coming on. And again, like the survey shows, enterprises are aware of this, and operators are obviously aware of this as well. So they're all moving down this direction. But again, great insight, Miguel. We definitely appreciate what's happening in the space and get Accenture on it. So thanks so much for the time today. We definitely appreciate it.
Enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Dan, very much.
All right. Thanks again. Well, thanks for watching this week's show, and make sure to check out our next show when we speak with Quali on the benefits of sandboxes to ensure smooth SDN and NFV deployments.
NFV SDN Reality Check with Dan Meyer is a production of RCR TV. To suggest show topics or to reach Dan, you can find him on email, dmeyer@rcrwireless.com, and on Twitter @Meyer_Dan. For more Dan, news on NFV SDN and everything wireless, find your way over to rcrwireless.com.